Welcome back to the Sportsmen. As always, Mikey V. As always, Joey D. Myself, the ticket. Today, a very special day. Three-time Pro Bowler, the pride of Florida State and Oregon, American football guard, Kyle Howard Long. Welcome to the show. Happy to have you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Happy hump night.
Fun fact, the only offensive lineman jersey I've ever purchased in my entire lifetime.
Wow.
Mr. Kyle Long, 75. Big 7'5".
And it's probably the only O lineman that would willingly crash on the couch behind you, because I'm such a Bears fan and such a light beer drinker. I know that you and I would just dominate. So, dominate curfews in that basement right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is a fabulous setup, and I didn't want to compliment you when we were just hanging out here prior to Cold Cut showing up, but that is this is what people strive for. This is the kind of thing that I get tagged in on Twitter nonstop. Is like people that have put their life's work into accumulating this awesome shit, like a Jim McMahon jersey. I see a Jim McMahon jersey.
He's got more stuff around the side too. It actually wraps around.
There's like a Buckus corner where it's like Dick's jersey signed by him with another autograph. I got Dick getting carried off the field. It's a Super Bowl autograph.
Yeah, the corner, it's like Amen Corner.
It is like Amen Corner in many ways. I call it Dick's.
I need to make this happen. And that's in Jersey. So this is this is within reach for me because I work in New York with CBS.
When you do your New York shoot, like I said, we'll do something for sure. We'll get some dinner. Golf, big golfer, Kyle, big golfer. And
wow, I didn't know that.
Nice.
Oh yeah, big golfer.
I love golf. I'm not a big. I am a large golfer. I wouldn't say I'm
a
big
golfer. That's what I
meant.
Physical stature of a big golfer like myself. That's what I meant.
And I'm kind of the antithesis of what you would think a big guy plays like. I hate hitting driver. I don't often bring it to the course. I'm usually going 3-wood or hybrids off the tee, and I really like to be around. I like flashing the mitts around the around the long grass, around the short grass.
Same thing. I fucking hate driver. I hate getting off the tee box. It's a fucking nightmare. Let me ask you this. Wikipedia still has you listed at 313. Is that an insult to you at this point?
No, I mean, look, I could be 313 next week, but
313 to me, man.
Really?
I was
you gotta be
more. That was
you gotta be a
drafted.
You look like a svelte 255, 260.
Yeah,
I'm 285 today.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
285. I appreciate it. That's svelte is a great word to hear when you're a former O lineman. I was 350 at my biggest. I dealt with some lower body injuries when I played, so it was fucking really hard some days to wake up and go to practice. And practice was really our cardio. Because if you look at the way Sundays are, you're not really out there for very long, but snap to whistle. But during these weeks, you have 85 plays on a Thursday. You get 80 plays on a Wednesday. And when you're injured and you're a vet and you're a decent enough player, they give you those days off if you're injured. And I had enough of those days off and enough injuries to where I just became a fat ass, and it was hard for me to play. And that's when I got to 350. But 313 was like out of the box, Oregon to the NFL. That was my weight.
How tall are you, Kyle? You were 6'6"?
6'6". I'm about 2 meters on the dot.
That's a great height. That's a perfect height. That's great.
Yeah, you go over 1 inch over 6'6", you're in trouble.
No, now you're a freak.
Everything just goes downhill.
You're a stud. Yeah.
When I was in college, there was this thing called Juicy Campus, which was like, they could just say horrible things about people anonymously. Do you remember these sites before X was a thing? It was like,
yeah.
It was often a lot of Greek back and forth. Well, I was a Pike pledge at Florida State, and I remember I had no success in the female department in high school and college. So I would read this thing to see if there was any mention, if I had to seek somebody out to be like, okay, this person was into me. The only time I was ever on there was Kyle Long was the subject. I clicked on it. He's just too big.
Really?
So my whole life, to your point, Neil, it's like 6'7"'s too big. Well, I mean, and then you throw the 330 in there, and you just become you're fetishized. I feel like, right? You're no longer.
Mikey says this all the time. Listen. He talks about how life is just not made for people who are taller in stature, and like that. It's just I feel like if you're shorter, people have sympathy for you because you're for whatever reason. But if you're taller, you still have a lot of trials and tribulations to overcome.
100%.
The regular day. But everybody acts like you're so privileged because you're tall. But Mikey actually says it's actually not that case at all.
Well, here's the deal. If you're short, there's only a certain amount of time you can't reach things. And then it's like, okay, I'm an adult now. The kitchen island isn't 8 feet tall. When you're big, every hotel bed is not big enough. Every couch, you feel like you're going to break it when you sit down on. When my wife and I are looking at new furniture for our kitchen, I can't just get the best looking stuff. I've got to get the stuff that's industrial grade. So these problems, I mean, when they put me in the ground, they're going to have to get an oak tree. You know what I
That's fair.
Listen,
fair.
I'd kill to be fetishized at 6 foot. I would.
I think you'd kill to be fetishized in general.
In general, about anything.
General.
Yeah. What do you think of my glasses, dog?
Now, Kyle, a lot of people don't know this. I don't think they know it anyway, that you were drafted by the Chicago White Sox.
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, I was a left-handed pitcher and a batter in high school, first base and pitcher, and I loved baseball. It's my first love. I made a post about it the other day on Instagram. It's essentially like, here's a kid who thought he was going to go to the major leagues his entire life. I didn't play football until I was 17. That was when my younger brother became the quarterback. He's a year younger than me. And I switched schools from public to private to play with my younger brother because my dad said, look, your brother's going to be the quarterback. He's 5'11", $185 at the time. And he talks a lot of shit. He's got the Italian shit talker gene from my mom's side, and he needed protection. So I went and played offensive line. But prior to that, it was always football's not for everybody, Kyle.
Even though your dad was so good at football,
it haunted him how fear-inducing, how anxiety-inducing this game was. And he knew it, and he played 13 years from the very beginning of the 80s through the 90s. I mean, he was there for the heyday of the end of the Gladiators. You know what I mean? And for him to say that to me was his way of being like, go play baseball, go play basketball. Do you like painting? Do that. You know, you're not going to want for anything. Why would you go do something that abuses you? And then as I got older, it was like football's the way to go. And it was like peeling bananas the first day I got out there, and I was protecting my brother. It all just made sense, you know?
Right.
He must look back now, though, like now that you played and you were, you know, Hall of Fame, and hopefully, and you know, you're a great football player, and your brother was great too. It must make him really proud that you guys, you know, kind of followed in his footsteps and played the game that he loved and whatnot, even though he kind of initially encouraged you to do your own thing.
100%. And as a kid, you kind of run for, like, I know that a lot of people are different, and certain people with big last names, like I think about Michael Jordan's son, the one that dates Larsa Pippen, or has been, you know, he's a celebrity, but I don't know what he does. You know what I mean? So he enjoys being himself. As a kid, I really did not enjoy being myself. And it's something that I ran from. And everybody that I met in my hometown would say, you're Howie Long's son. And I would be like, no, like, you got the other giant kid confused with me. And as I got older, I realized that I could use it, and I didn't have to feel like a crutch. It was like, you know, this is my DNA. This is who I am. My kids get to be the same way, you know, like, don't run from it. And I think now, as a 35-year-old and somebody who's been there and done that as a player and retired, my dad and I are in a unique fraternity of guys who have a little bit of PTSD about playing the NFL. We can have deep conversations. We can talk about the game that we see and we love, and we share our opinions often. I mean, he's my best friend, and we wouldn't have gotten to that point if it weren't for him wearing a number of hats, right? I mean, he was a Hall of Famer that was pushing his son away from it, essentially, right? So for me to have gone through it and had success, and I'm a happy camper now, he's like, good, great. We all got out. He's like, we all got out all right. You know what I mean? And now we have fun doing the media thing. So I essentially do what he does. He's done for a very long time, and it's fun, and it's natural for me because I get to just talk about what I see.
That's awesome. I feel like him and Terry Bradshaw have been doing it since the dawn of man. It's like, it's unbelievable. And it doesn't get old. They're still crushing it. It's still awesome to watch them on Fox. And like, I would think that if he got off, it would just feel like something wasn't right. Cause you know, Mikey, me, and Ticket too, he's a little bit younger than us, but like, we grew up, that's the only thing I ever knew watching football was with the panel and with, you know, to me, it's a staple of NFL Sunday when you see Howie Long, when you see Terry Bradshaw, you know, it's just, it would feel not right if that panel didn't have them.
Kurt,
on.
Terry, Howie, and Jimmy. This is
Yeah.
Jerry, Howie, and Jimmy.
Jimmy's
Go back
awesome
down
too,
to
man.
Troy and Joe.
Yeah.
And as a kid, that's what I wanted to do. That's like, I didn't impersonate Batman. I was impersonating John Madden. And I would try to be rambunctious and point things out that you didn't see, maybe make a big deal out of things. And I try to do that in studio too. It's like, because to your point, Cold Cuts, that's the demographic. Is like, I want people on Sunday to be comfortable hanging out with me. I want them to invite me on their couch, because I know that people are comfortable with Terry and Howie on their couch. Like, do you have enough room for a third party? I'll shut the fuck up when I need to shut the fuck up, because these guys are great. But there's value there. And like, I'm at CBS, so we had Boomer, Phil,
Boomer Esiason,
JB,
right.
Nate Burleson. Now we got JJ Watt. So now we've got Boomer and Phil are heading out. Coach Cower's still on the panel. And to your point, these are the guys I grew up watching. These are the voices we grew up listening to. And Mikey, this is your neck of the woods, right? I mean, it's
I mean, I listen to Boomer every morning. I mean, Boomer and Gio
Gio.
before that, Boomer and Carton before that, which was, my estimation, a better show. But
Matt Ryan now takes over Cold Cuts. So look, I mean, if you're a fan, you say, hey, great, we're really going to miss Phil and Boomer, and we can still catch them on a number of things. But now we get an MVP from the last decade. And
that's where it's really changed, I think, a lot, though. You used to see more like journalists in that field, and now you're seeing more and more. And it makes sense if you think about it, because someone like Tony Rome or somebody like, even like a Peyton Manning or some of these guys, like they understand the game in a way that, your average Joe Blow can't understand it. And they can just, if they're good at speaking and if they're good at like conducting their thoughts, it's just a no-brainer to have these guys on the show. So someone like JJ Watt or yourself, it's like, it's always interesting to see how some guys have the sauce. Some guys can like translate onto the media side, and some just can't, like, who's the guy? Mikey?
I was going to say that too, because when it translates well, it seems like it translates extremely well.
Right.
When it goes south, man, is it a train wreck?
Mikey, who's the guy from Tampa Bay, the safety or the corner who just he was trying to do the play-by-play, and he had that raspy voice.
He played for the Patriots too. His name's escaping me right now.
I'll tell you what. While you think of his name, okay. So like the studio thing that I do and that my dad does, it's really fun because there's only so much time to cover all these games, and there's only so many marquee games. So if we had a production call on Friday, and Cold Cuts
Akeem Talib.
Akeem Talib did a really good job, but it was unorthodox. It was unorthodox, right?
Very unorthodox.
As
unorthodox as it gets.
Akeem was a few years too early, and I'm like, listen to me here, because we got Mark Sanchez now, who's unorthodox, who does a fabulous job and brings unique energy to the booth. But the thing about the booth is you have to know starters, backup, third, boom, boom, boom. You have to know where the GM was. You have to know the backstories. On Sunday, I can say they didn't stop the run last week because 76 didn't get his foot in the ground, and I think they can exploit that today.
Yeah.
And be on the lookout for Roquan Smith having 15 tackles, because they're going to challenge that front seven. And then I'm like, what do you got to say, JJ? And it's on to the next game. I don't have to sit there for 4 hours and take us in and out of commercials.
That's true.
It's fun for me, and it's simple. It's really not that complicated.
Play-by-play is a different beast. I think Greg Olson, in terms of newer guys to the booth, I think he does a tremendous job. Greg Olson, a guy who should have retired a Chicago Bear. I'm not going to go into that, but a guy who certainly should have never had the opportunity to leave Chicago. But that's a different story for a different day. Kyle, I want to get into just a little bit about your versatility as an athlete. Again, I don't think people get that, people could preach the, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, and you could always outwork. But at some point in time, when you just see a guy who's got the genetics and you got the ability to get drafted to the MLB, you go to Florida State baseball, you leave Florida State, you go to a community college in California, you start playing football, you're playing D end, then you transfer back over to offensive line. Then you leave there to go to Oregon. You play 6 out of 12 games as a starter at Oregon. You appeal to get an extra year eligibility, which must make you furious now in retrospect because they're giving out extra years of eligibility they're giving super senior years, COVID years, red shirt years, silver shirt years, whatever. You were denied the appeal. You came right out, first round draft pick, 20th overall pick. What do you do then? All rookie team. Then you switch your position to tackle 2 years later, and you become a Pro Bowler as a tackle. So, I don't think people really understand how gifted of an overall athlete that you have to be in order to be able to transition from one sport to the other sport, from one position to a different side of the ball, from that position to a different position at the pro level and still be successful. At what point did you even say to yourself, something just clicks with me that maybe just comes. Did it come easy to you? Not to say, obviously you put in your time, you put in your hours, you put in the effort, you put in all the time in the weight room, all that studying and shit. But did it ever hit you this kind of comes a little bit easy to me in terms of ability?
I think when I paired the God-given ability and the genetics that my parents gave me with an unrelenting fear of failure and fear of embarrassment, it was a really rough day for the people I had to play against when I was healthy. And I had coaches who used to say, "Did you thank them today?" And I'd say, "Who?" And they'd say, "Mom, Dad, and God." But also you look around and there's 52 other guys who have to thank Mom and Dad and God.
Sure.
But the difference was, yes, I got dropped off in a Mercedes at middle school, but I was in the fucking trenches in terms of the competitive nature and the mindset in our house. You don't come out of that house without being a little bit different mentally. And I think when I got to the NFL, it was clear to me that while I was at times childish and, too talkative on Twitter and, not
but
focused,
you were beloved though. There's not many guys who played for the Bears.
You didn't have to question the guy that showed up every day and put his hand in the ground because that's what we drafted.
And there's not many guys who played for this team because, as you know, Kyle, better than anybody, how I'll say unreasonable the fan base could be at times.
Wow.
It certainly can be unreasonable at times, certainly could be very toxic at times, especially you look on Twitter. It's a war zone out there, especially this offseason, the Justin Fields, Caleb Williams thing. There was never a point where I ever felt like you were, and I think it's a testament to playing through injury, toughness, pedigree, and then just that overall attitude that you have. I think that very few guys were beloved by the fan base as much as you were. Top 100 Bear of all time, which is a great honor, I'm sure. But yeah, I just think that right from Jump Street, it was kind of you set that precedent. And I'll go back to the one image that always is the burnt image of you in my brain as a Bear. And I put it on my Instagram today to make a little bit of a joke, is the picture of you with Jay Cutler's back to you. Well, Jay Cutler's back to the camera and you're yelling at Vontaze Burfict, or it looks like you're yelling at Vontaze Burfict. And Vontaze Burfict is in a full fat Joe lean back position like this. Not many guys you see do that. So what do you remember the exact, because I think you're a guy with a good memory. Do you remember the exact circumstances revolving around that?
Well, I remember the game, and I remember it was my first. I want to say it was my first game ever. It was either my first game or my second game because we had Bills, we had Bengals. I remember Marty had a big play against the Vikings, maybe week 3 to go 3-0. We played the Bengals. It was the first time as a right guard I was asked to pull into the opposite A gap and go block Ray Maluga. And I had never hit a concrete watermelon before. Ray Maluga has a concrete watermelon for a fucking head. And I've never been out on my feet before on the football field, but I felt like a heavyweight boxer after that play. When I tell you, me and him looked at each other, shocked that we were both still on our feet after we hit. That was the beginning of the game. That was in the first 15 plays. You know what I mean? Maybe play 4. Second quarter, Vontaze is going after Cutler and hitting him late. And I think there was a play where Cutler scrambled, Vontaze hit him late. And I sprinted about 15 yards down the field to get him off him. And I didn't hit him or anything, but I pulled him off him and yelled at him. And I think the combination of me pulling him off him, I think he tripped and I was yelling. And Vontaze Burfict, while one of the, people will call him dirty, people will call him physical, all these things. He is such a smart ass and he's so funny. And I yelled at him and I was a rookie and he did the fake clutch pearls and somebody caught it on camera. Thank God.
The
and
image
now
is
I'm, like,
tremendous.
immortalized, but it was Vontaze being a smart ass, being like, you don't really scare me that
much. He was a big bruiser, man. That guy
was.
We sat next to each other on the bus at my rookie Pro Bowl, and I was like, what's your deal, man? And he was like, I just like fucking with you. And I was like, all right, I get it now, and that's the NFL. Like, people hate each other, trust me, but we don't really hate each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are there a lot of guys like that in the NFL, or is that specific to Burfict, or is that just the NFL culture? A lot of people just fucking with you. You don't know.
A lot of linebackers and a lot of DBs like that, Neil.
Okay.
A lot of linebackers, a lot of DBs. And I would also say this, the D linemen, and here's why. It's because they rotate in and out. Okay, there's 5-0 linemen. Unless you get injured, you don't leave the field for the entirety of the game. It's some real Delta Force SEAL Team 6 type shit. We take pride in this, okay? This is like, we hang our hat on this.
That's right. That's right.
We're the largest group on the football team in volume, or in size and in volume. Like, there's 5 of us on the field. There's 10 of us in the meeting room. But the DBs are never tired, and they talk so much fucking shit. And the linebackers do too.
I feel like the wide receivers and DBs are the biggest prima donnas in the game. Like, and some of them, they're good enough that they can be cocky like that, but some of them are so clearly like either past their prime, but they still have that swag. I feel like you almost have to have a little bit of that arrogance or that cockiness to play that position, because it's just the nature of it. But it always seems to me like those are the two positions where the guys talk the most shit.
It's like the rap game, Cold Cuts. If you're not down to be involved in beef, then get out of the game, my friend. And it's like the Capulets and the Montagues. These guys come out of their mamas understanding that they hate the guy that's across the line of scrimmage, whether it's a DB or a receiver.
Bears, Packers, Capulets, Montagues, whatever you want to call it. Sharks and the Jets. We're here for all the analogies. It is what it is. Now, interesting tidbit, Joe, before you got on, that I found out that may break a lot of hearts for Chicago Bears fans.
They know where I'm at now.
Now where you're at now, Kyle. But it plunged my heartstrings a little bit. Kyle was a Packers fan as a young man, as an early.
Wow! I know, like the cut of this man's jib from start to finish.
Yeah.
Listen, I will say this:
was a Packer. Sean Jones was an old-time D lineman who played with my dad with the Raiders. He won the Super Bowl. Remember when they beat the Panthers in the NFC Championship, and I think they played the Patriots in the Super Bowl. And they beat them.
Favre, yes.
So at the NFC Championship, I was at
96.
Lambeau. I was at Lambeau for my birthday, and I was sitting on Uncle Sean's knee in the locker room, and all these guys were like, what's this white kid doing on Sean's knee? Sean doesn't look like me, by the way. I'm just saying, great guy. Me and Sean stay in touch, but that's why I was a Packers fan. So I had a little mini Brett Favre shrine, and I've since audited the shrine.
Good.
Brett Favre, though, growing up as a kid who was a fan of the Packers, was like the coolest.
Yep.
He was just the coolest guy to root for. I remember my mom is from Green Bay, so we'd go in the summertime, and across the street from the stadium is where they'd practice. So all the kids would ride their bikes to the practice, and after practice, the player would get on the bike, and as a kid, you jump on the back and hold on to the player, and he'd ride back to Lambeau and give you a jersey or whatever. Everybody wanted to see Favre, so they built like an underground tunnel for him to go on under, because they were worried that he was going to get bombarded and stuff. And it was just like, he had this aura around him that he was just like the coolest guy. I remember when he came out in that movie, There's Something About Mary, and I'm like, this guy is the fucking
cameos,
man.
Dude. We need more cameos.
I know, it was so awesome.
Dan Marino was great. The isotoner gloves.
Isotoner.
It's the best. The isotoner gloves.
He's got the...
Yeah. The ejaculate hair.
Brett Favre epitomized American culture. He was like handsome, a gunslinger, throwing touchdowns, middle of the country, representing the Midwest. And he was just Wrangler jeans. I mean, this guy was America for a while.
Willing to throw interceptions to set up touchdowns on the next
not afraid to have a bad time. Not afraid to
Yes.
lose. Yeah.
You didn't know if you were going to get the best pass of all time or just a dud. You never knew with him. It was always a guessing
And such
game,
a cannon, one of those guys who is gifted
Yeah.
physically. And there's something about the quarterback position where if you're gifted physically, whether you have a godlike arm or you can run, like we watched Lamar and you can't take your eyes off him. You watch Patrick's creativity in conjunction with his talent, with his arm.
Right.
And then you watch Josh Allen and you're like, these guys are titans, in regard to what they bring to the table physically. And that's what brings me, like Justin Herbert. I could just, ooze over Justin Herbert all day. I love this shit.
So Kyle, I have a 2-point question now. Do you support the Bears now still? And then on top of that, I got to get your intel on what you thought of the draft. Obviously, to me as an outside, non-Bears fan, I think they drafted incredibly well. Wow. Where do you think they stand in terms of where they're moving on to next season?
I am the time of my life was at Soldier Field. You know what I mean? I'm a dad and a husband, and it's the best job in the world, but you can't replicate running out of that tunnel at Soldier Field and hearing people that are passionate about what you're doing and then going to battle with your teammates. And that was awesome. And as it pertains to what I've seen recently with the Bears, I love the culture change towards the end of the year, defensively, and how it freed the offense up to be able to have more freedom and creativity instead of being one-dimensional. They had Justin back there when they were playing from behind, and at times it looked like they were just not able to get it done. And unfortunately, they didn't get it done enough, and Justin's not here anymore, which leads me to my next thing. This is the most excited I've ever been as a Bears fan. It's like I roll over and I tap my wife, and I'm like, this is different. It just feels different. Something feels different. You know what I mean? It's just
Mikey's
different.
been brimming with excitement.
It is the arms race between Jordan Love and all these guys in the NFC North. The entire NFL is the arms race, and it's all who can match the nuclear power of Patrick Mahomes. And CJ Stroud scares me. If I'm a Chiefs fan, CJ Stroud and the Texans scare me, but the Bears, man, the Bears are a team that have all these names on offense. They went and they drafted the best contested catch maker in the draft in Roma Dunze, and somebody that gets along and was in the same conference with Caleb Williams, has familiarity with him. They've done the pre-draft thing together. You bring him in with Keenan Allen. So you've got DJ Moore, you've got Keenan Allen, you've got Roma Dunze. Yeah. Not only do you have three really good receivers, you have three different archetypes of receivers. Okay. Yeah. You're not playing just copy paste out there. You've got DJ Moore, who's your volume guy. We can throw at him like Brandon Marshall. We just fucking throw him the ball until, he can't breathe anymore. And then you've got Keenan Allen, who is going to be hanging out and he's going to be beating up his DBs, finding the soft spots, almost like a Travis Kelce for Caleb Williams. You know what I'm saying? Playing that tight end wide receiver hybrid, just finding soft spots. So when things break down, you're open. And then you got the other guy, Roma Dunze. And that's going to be the guy. Those are going to be the touchdown catches. They're going to make all the highlights for Caleb Williams because Caleb is going to be launching that ball to Rome on deep crossers, on go balls outside the numbers. It's going to be a style of football we haven't seen in Chicago in a very long time. I'm super excited about it. I love the tackle pick out of Yale. Me and Mikey were talking about it before. I think that offensive line continues to develop. I know people were beating on the table about getting an offensive lineman. They wanted another edge rusher, but look, you got a great defense. Complement it with a really good offense. You have that. They can grow together. I think the Eberflus decision was interesting. I don't know what you think. I like.
Do you like him or what?
I like Coach Eberflus. I think he has earned another year.
I think his way he finished the season last year,
they love him.
Was very.
I think it's obvious they must love him. Because I did think that, again, it's the guys on the field are the ones that, Kyle, I do this show with Alex Brown, former DN Pro Bowler, Bears legend. Yeah, of course. And, we always talk about, when people start ragging on the coaches, players typically that I've spoken to, Urlacher, Alex, they always come back to, what? You could blame the coaches all you want. It's us on the field. Team. It's us, right? And the good players always take hand up accountability like that. It always seems like the guys who are really good, who are real contributors, yourself, Urlacher, Alex, they always come back to, you got to have the talent on the field. The guys on the field have to get the job done for the coach. Now, there are moments where I'm like, I thought time management, challenges, things like that. He could, but again, this was only his second year as head coach. So again, the experience hasn't been there yet. He's a defensive coordinator converted to head coach. And I think, like you said, I think he's got the one more year. He earned that one more year, one more shot at it. And I mean, the arsenal that they gave this guy now, I mean, on the offensive side of the ball, and then you bring in a guy like Shane Waldron, who made Geno Smith kind of look like Superman all of a sudden after a really tough tenure with the Jets, after all the shit that Geno Smith went through, bouncing back and forth, Giants, Jets, now to come to Seattle, turn that around. It's an exciting time. And you got a guy like Cole Kmet, who he's ascending. You got a guy like Gerald Everett. You got Swift.
Yeah.
So that O-line though, Kyle, and better than anybody. Braxton Jones, Darnell Wright. Now you got Ryan Bates, who you wanted last year and you missed out on him. That was a Poles prize last year. He couldn't get him. Now he's got him. Tevin Jenkins, can he stay healthy? That O-line, if they could gel and they could remain in the hunt, that O-line, then you're really talking. But I do think that it's going to, the thing that's going to be the question is, can that O-line give him the time to make the magic happen?
I think that center position, the one you just brought up,
critical,
is as important as any. And I played with Cody Whitehair.
Yes, you did.
And I was there with Sam Mustipher, and Cody Whitehair had a hell of a career with the Chicago Bears. And if you talk about Cody Whitehair as a Bears fan, you should tip your cap to the man, because he played hurt more often than you knew. And there were days where I publicized my injuries and he didn't. And that's just the kind of guy he was. But look, Bates is a Cromer guy, Aaron Cromer. Aaron Cromer drafted me to Chicago, offensive line coach with the Bills, and somebody that has developed so many guys, particularly the center position. He takes guys that aren't particularly all pros on paper, and he turns them into wizards technically. And not only that, he finds a way to connect. It's the coupling between the right side and the left side. That's the center. He's going to be setting the table for dinner, and then we eat. So you get a guy like Bates with some experience. You get those two tackles in Braxton and Darnell, and they continue to develop. I think Darnell is going to make an astral ascent this year. Last year, he was finding his feet. He was a big puppy dog, and he was still beating the shit out of people. Braxton is a guy that's finding his way. He's a big physical dude. I got to hang out with him in Lake Forest this past season. Really good dude. I trust that he is doing the right things. When I saw him in the offseason, he was in the training room getting ready, and I was like, "Are you injured?" He was like, "Nah, man, I'm just here lifting and staying on it." I mean,
good.
That's the kind of guy you want. And you put the center in there, and now you've got all those pieces on the outside. You don't need a ton of time. And we even saw at USC, this guy Caleb Williams runs for his life, apocalypto, Jaguar pile style. He's he's running, weaving through the trees, dodging the javelins, and still making the throws. He'll have more time in the NFL by scheme and by talent around him.
Now, and that's a good point. I mean, he wasn't surrounded with, once Jordan Addison left after the Heisman year, and obviously you saw the success he had in Minnesota, it did seem like Caleb was kind of on an island this year at USC to an extent. And that team really, the defense, I mean, couldn't stop a nosebleed, constantly getting scored on. All the pressure on him, and hopefully you're right on that point, Kyle. Ticket, I'm sorry, you can go.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say, staying on the topic of the offensive line, I'm not a Bears fan. I'm a massive Eagles fan, but from an outside looking in, the topic last year was everyone looking in would say you've got an offensive line problem, and what Bears fans would always tell you was, well, maybe we do, but Justin Fields has a knack for scrambling too long, hanging onto the ball too long, and it's not really, it's an unfair criticism of the offensive line. Would you agree with that, or do you think there is some work to be done, or is it maybe a mixture of the both?
There's always work to be done.
Right.
And that's one thing every offensive lineman will tell you. They'll never be happy with the game, even if they, won 58-0, because there's a lot of plays and shit gets fucked up. But as it pertains to protecting for these quarterbacks, guys like Russell Wilson, guys like Mahomes, guys like Justin Fields, who have unique physical abilities, guys like Lamar Jackson, even Josh Allen at times, when they have the confidence and the presence of mind to get out of dodge and use their legs, you don't see that as an offensive lineman. You can sense that it's coming. It's like, living in Bali or something and knowing a big wave is going to come eventually. And that's when your quarterback gets out of the designated protected area and, you have to retrace your block and things go awry. Now, the really good ones run to throw. Some guys run because they don't see it, and they run because it's like fight or flight response. Now Tom Brady was a fight guy. He'd stay in the fucking pocket, take shots, and throw the ball. But he was smart enough to get it out before then more often than not. Justin, not a lot of experience yet, and he's getting better. Russell was a guy that made circus plays. So all these guys are different. Patrick Mahomes loves to scramble right and then fade back and then throw the ball on the sideline. You know what I mean? So the Niners shut that down, and he had to run the read option to get things going. I think at this point in Justin's career, he wasn't able to morph into another quarterback. He was who he was off the parking lot. Defenses start to figure that out. And in the fourth quarter, when you get the best looks from the defense, that's when things could tend to go awry. And I think you heard it with DJ Moore yesterday, Mikey, in the clips that were on social media. He talked about anticipation. And anticipation's big. Like if you're playing your buddy in Madden and you're playing with anticipation and you throw that 15-yard in before your guy breaks, you're probably going to get that ball in there on time. You're going to get a completion, and your guy's going to say, "Fuck Madden." That's called playing with anticipation, okay? We're hoping at Soldier Field there's a lot of fuck Madden happening from the defensive lips when our offense is on the field.
Yeah, and for those who don't know what Kyle's referencing, DJ Moore basically in an interview said today or whenever the interview was recorded, but I saw it today on Twitter, where he basically said, like, the difference in what he sees in Caleb Williams right off the jump from tape and everything he's seen so far is that he throws guys open. And he said, and I quote, something along the lines of, "That's different." Meaning that, and this was one of the things I said about Justin. Justin, at times, it always felt like a guy would have to come open and he would see throw. Caleb is a guy who throws. He sees the route being run, throws with it a little bit more anticipation before the guy has to come completely open, and the anticipatory catch is there afterwards. And DJ saying that that's different. So again, not a knock on Justin, just a part of his game that needs to get
different
developed.
Guys.
Totally different guys.
So Neil, back to your question, I would say this. The offensive line wasn't great, but having a quarterback that defaults to scrambling or tucking can really exponentially make your grade look worse, can make your public perception a lot worse. When you play with these old heads with less athleticism, the ball tends to come out quicker because they just understand how this Darwin shit works. Like if I'm not fast and strong, this fucking ball better come out, and I better be throwing it to the right guy, or I'm going to be at home watching this shit. So guys like Chase Daniel made a career out of throwing to the right guy on time and not being a distraction. So like if you can do that in the league, you can play for a very long time.
It's going to be interesting this year to see the NFC North. Obviously, last year, the AFC North was probably the best, division in football, I would say, if you just look from start to finish. And the NFC North, with Rodgers being gone, there was a lot of question marks with the Packers. The Bears were kind of revitalizing and revamping. The Lions kind of were trending upwards. The Vikings, were there. But now you look at the teams. I even think the Vikings with JJ McCarthy and some of the guys that they have with Justin Jefferson and Addison and some of these players. And I think that they're going to be solid. And then the Bears and the Packers now are going to be really good. You might have 3 playoff teams coming out of the NFC North, which is so great because it's always been my division. Mikey, I know it's been yours too. And it's not felt right the last few years when it's not been like the juggernaut of the NFC. And I feel like it's good that it's going to be good for all of us that this division is going to be that competitive this year.
Yeah, I mean, there was this void in power with the dark guy, Aaron Rodgers, this dark entity.
The bad man.
When he left.
Mikey likes him now. Mikey likes him.
Listen, truth be told, I always listen. If you here's the thing.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Here's the thing, boys. Here's the thing.
I'm pressing record just for
Yeah, we'll send this a copy to your house via Blu-ray disc. Listen, I hated Aaron Rodgers when he was with Green Bay because I knew what was coming every single time. I knew what was coming. There was nothing I could do to stop it. It was like a bad nightmare over and living the same nightmare over and over and over and over. However, the player himself, I will say that, and all due respect to Tom Brady, all due respect to Peyton Manning, Joe Montana, to me, Aaron Rodgers is one of, if not the most gifted players to ever play the position of quarterback that I've ever watched with my eyes. I've seen things this guy has done that I haven't seen other people do. I just haven't seen other people do it. And maybe if I have, not with the consistency that he has in the spots that he has, the moments he has. So I give all respect to Aaron Rodgers. But yes, when he was a Packer, of course I hated his guts because I knew
it reminds me of what my dad would say about Marino and Elway.
There you go.
He would go, Kyle, I can't even begin to tell you the things that these guys would do to us. You know what I mean? Like Elway was so big and so athletic, and then Marino was like a god with the football in his hand. He could just do anything with it, put it in any layer, any spot on the field. And yeah, I mean, that's how Aaron Rodgers is. And there would be times where we'd be winning, we'd be winning as the Bears. And I would just be like, guys, do not fucking celebrate for 1 second. We need to score again. We need to score.
As good as he was extra good against the Dallas Cowboys and the Chicago Bears. For some reason, it was like he always
hates those markets. That's why.
Always played unbelievably well against those two teams.
It's so I'm reading. I was telling these guys about Shogun earlier, and this is how we come full circle on Shogun. Okay. All right. So here's the premise: Shogun portrays, in close parallel to actual history, a disunited 1600 feudal Japan without a shogun, central ruler, for nearly 3 decades. So it's a lot like the NFC North recently. The Shogun, Aaron Rodgers, he went away. We sent him to New York. And now you're looking around, and his heir is Jordan Love, and people don't know what his deal is. And people in Chicago say, we've got the guy. It's number one, Justin Fields. Turns out not to be. Matt Stafford gone, Jared Goff in. There's this disjointed NFC North that right now is getting ready to be the Royal Rumble of all Royal Rumbles. To your point, we could have 3 of these teams in the playoffs. If JJ McCarthy can even scratch the surface of those expectations that Jim McCarthy set out for him on his media tour, his fucking campaign trail for JJ McCarthy. Did you guys see that one?
Oh,
Harbaugh?
Harbaugh.
Yeah.
He said he was the best ever.
I think he's going to be great. I think he can. When I say great, I mean relative to his comps, and I think his comps are guys like Alex Smith and guys of that nature who can win you football games. And with a guy like Kevin O'Connell, that's a dangerous unit. And to your point, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, all these weapons, their offensive line is solid. So the NFC North's a lot of fun, but it all comes down to what the Bears are able to do on the road in Green Bay, because we know the Bears can win in Detroit.
Yeah.
We know the Bears can win against Detroit at home. We know we can beat the Vikings on the road. We've done it a number of times. We can beat them at home. Can we beat the Packers on the road? That's what it all comes down to.
Yep. And
Mikey, what do you think? Can you beat us this year on the road?
Yeah, man. I mean, listen, Caleb, dog. Caleb. Bear claw.
We could be looking at, remember that Jared Goff, Patrick Mahomes, Monday Night Football? We're going to
awesome.
I hate you, Cold Cuts, but I'm going to text you on that night and be like, see, I told you, it's going to be one of these games. It could be 51-48. We could be looking at a Pac-12 after dark style game. That's how lucky we are to be NFC North fans.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll say this, Kyle. I feel like, obviously I like to jab at Mikey and some Bears fans from time to time, but I actually have no ill.
Here it comes.
We just
I hate when
the
he
only
does
team
Me
I hate
too.
is Detroit.
It's the worst. It's so
when he does this.
patronizing.
He's like, because we've owned you for so long that the rivalry isn't really a rivalry anymore.
People don't get this. They always ask, do you really hate the Packers? And I'm like, we only hate the Lions. Like, that's the only fucking team we hate.
I only hate the Vikings. I actually have felt very sorry for the Lions for so long because they couldn't do anything. And then, as we just discussed, having Aaron Rodgers for how long it seemed like we always beat the Bears. So I never had any disdain or hatred in my heart for the Bears. And I actually, Mikey and I are very good friends. So like football season, when they do play, there's a little bit of back and forth. But Mike, you have to admit, considering my track record against the Bears and how many times we won, I really don't think I've been that bad of a sore winner. Would you just?
I don't know how to react to anything that, to be totally honest.
He's doing the P word, patronizing.
Yeah, yes,
completely.
Yes.
That's all. That's completely what he does with the Bears.
Yes.
Yes.
See, now I'm
getting a little hot here now, Cold Cuts.
All right, that's what
Kyle says he only hates the Lions. See, I've seen the Bears beat the Lions ad nauseum. I've seen the Bears beat the Vikings ad nauseum.
You never had to block Ndamukong Suh.
Oh,
that's true. That's true.
That's
very
a rookie.
True. Now let me ask you this: how was he?
He was.
Forget about how good he was.
He was an absolute pleasure to play against from a level of respect standpoint. He was not a pleasure to play against from a competitive
hatred
standpoint.
in his heart, man.
He played the game was supposed to be played. And when I lined up, put my hand in the dirt, and we met like two fucking bulls at the line of scrimmage, it was like, okay. I remember one play. He got after me in Detroit. We got after each other in Chicago my rookie year. And like, I got a couple shots in on him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was feeling good. And I was trying to drive block him a little at the end of the play just to finish. And he didn't like it. He shrugged me off. So I gave him a little ass slap. Oh. Give him the old ass slap. Which they say, don't touch the animals. Okay. So he grabbed me by the V of my neck and he slung me like a toddler, like 4 yards. Didn't say a word, didn't look at me. I slapped him, and like by the time my hand got back to my hip, it was like, so I knew. I was like, he's not a dirty player. He only responds if you do something dirty. So that is my synopsis of a Suh. Throwback, first ballot Hall of Famer, legend, and way cleaner of a player in his later years than people would give credit for.
Yeah,
not in his early years. He stepped on
Aaron's head. Yeah,
Tick,
that's water under the bridge.
Tick, what if we do around the horn favorite pick of the draft, but it can't be your team?
Okay, all right, we can do that.
Favorite overall pick of the draft, but not your team.
Okay, I like that.
So me and Kyle won't do Bears. Joe can't do Packers. You can't do Eagles.
Well, we've got Lito Shepherd and Brown back now. I mean, we're just the stars of. We've just got the best two quarterbacks.
You guys got the two best corners possibly in the entire draft,
and it's really
all we needed.
Cooper DeJean and Kenyon Mitchell from Toledo, dog.
That's exactly right.
That's a nice little Quinyon.
Now, anyone
6 times.
Anyone who has an opinion about Quinyon, by the way, who it doesn't work like Kyle for CBS or gets paid to watch tape. No, if you have an opinion about him, I
watched a lot of Toledo Rocket football.
If you have an opinion about him, you have a gambling problem, my friend.
That's correct.
No one's watching Bowling Green
versus
Toledo and has an opinion about Quinyon.
Those Rockets.
I like that, Mikey. But I do have one more question for Kyle, real quick. Just going back to the Suh thing. I imagine I probably know the answer based on you probably being a very competitive guy. But did you look more forward to going up against a guy like Suh and challenging yourself and seeing what you're made of and seeing how well you can do against them? Or did you prefer going up against guys who were layups and you were like, you looked great on the stat sheet at the end of the day and protected your
Nobody was a layup. Oh my God, nobody was a layup. And it was often the guy that you didn't know about that would show up and you'd be like, I'm gonna, the Suh would go to the sideline and 62 would come out. And I'd be like, I get a breather here. That was young Kyle. And 62 is like, I get an opportunity to go against an All-Pro and I get 3 plays this game. So I'm going to fucking let my nuts hang out here. That's what I didn't have an understanding of early. But to your question, Neil, the entirety of my off season, I would get random calls from my dad and he would say, where do you think he is? I'd be like, who? He'd say, you know who. And if it was week 1, so one year it was week 1, we played the Houston Texans in Houston. And I got where is he? Where do you think he is? All the time about JJ Watt. And, you'd circle it on on your mission. You'd circle it. You got 18 missions or whatever. You circle your big ones. And the big circle goes around JJ. It's, you have your in division guys that you see twice a year, and those are the obvious ones that you're preparing for and you're looking forward to. Mike Daniels was one I always really loved playing. Mike Daniels, and we talked for an hour the other day on the phone just about being old beat up guys and how we used to beat the hell out of each other, and it's awesome. But Suh for me was the guy that I would lay in bed and I would just be like, I wouldn't be like dreading it, but I would be like, I better close my eyes and get some sleep because I know that he's going to be up in the morning getting after it. And that's part of that healthy fear that I talk about, and it's real, and it got me to where I'm at now, and I think it'll continue to carry me where I'm headed.
Awesome. Beautiful. Awesome. All right. I like Mikey's idea. Let's go around the horn here, and outside of the teams that you support here, Kyle and Mikey being the Bears, Joe being the Packers, myself being the Eagles, let's talk about the best pick in the draft. Kyle, you want to start us off? Who did you think got a steal in the first round?
One guy that was a steal, in my opinion, who was a comp to me physically, is Jordan Morgan, the guy that the Packers drafted.
Mikey talked some shit on him.
Wow.
I didn't
Mikey was talking a little bit of shit on him.
Video. Wait. So see how these stories get twisted, Ticket? I didn't talk. I sent a video of a Packers fan live from the draft that they showed on draft night.
Yes, who was not happy.
Who had no idea.
That's all I sent.
Mikey, you were poking a bit. You were poking.
Yeah, no, I poked.
Yeah, you poked. You poked. You gave Suh a slap on the ass.
I don't know
Jordan.
Suh
a little slap on the ass.
I don't know Jordan Morgan from Tracy Morgan. So let
Kyle.
We
had a Jordan Morgan.
We did have a Jordan Morgan.
Bears.
Where was he from? He was from a small school.
He was from Kuntstown, PA.
Kuntstown. That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
And I remember
now a mixed martial artist, and he's like reinvented himself. He looks great. But Jordan Morgan, the draft pick for the Packers, he's got a tackle frame with a guard length arms.
Yeah.
That's what I had. People called me T-Rex when I came out. They're like, he'll never be able to fucking touch these DNs. And I was like, all right, fine. And I hope this guy Jordan Morgan gets after it. And I hope he hears this because I'm a fan.
That's awesome.
All right, Mikey,
good
let's
to hear
go to you
too
next.
as a Packers fan.
Mikey, let's go to you next.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick this pick was, to me, it was a surprise that Buffalo allowed this to happen.
This is what I was gonna say. Xavier Worthy
from Texas. Now, listen, there's been concerns with somebody off the field and like his concentration and focus in the locker room and in the but I'm not going to buy into it, and I'm not going to really talk on it because I can't, because I'm not there, so I don't know.
And because he's a fucking kid, of course he's got concentration issues,
there you go,
bro.
There you go. So that's not my concern. My concern is that a team that loses to the Chiefs perennially has a problem getting over the Chiefs hump and is devoid of wide receiver talent after losing Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis that could really have used another body, a pass catcher, to give Josh some weapons, trades that pick back and watches the Chiefs take a guy that ran a 4.2 40 that is now going to be under the tutelage of Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and that system and that offense, and is going to, listen, I'm not saying he's going to be Tyreek Hill. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying if you don't think the Chiefs are going to maximize this kid's potential,
he could
you're
also
out of
be
your mind
Kadarius
because
Toney,
they make
Mikey.
everybody look.
Yeah.
Right?
He could also be Kadarius Toney.
Could be.
So I'm just presenting the other side. Like,
could
look,
be. I'm
buddies with Pat and I'm buddies with Trav, and nobody was happier than I was for those guys to get that player, because you and I both know that if somebody's going to utilize the talent
that's right.
the correct way,
right.
it's Andy Reid.
That's right.
And that's the thing about Andy Reid that people don't know. His locker room is the land of misfit toys. and he has found a way to repurpose all of these guys. Travis Kelce, nobody wanted him. You know what I mean? They thought he was a character guy. They thought he was a guy you couldn't trust. Look at Travis fucking Kelce's career.
Unbelievable, man.
You know what I'm saying? So let's just hope for Xavier's sake and for Pat's sake, they continue the legacy.
Yeah, that to me was when that pick happened. I threw my hands up in the air. I said, "The rich get richer." That's exactly what I said. I said, "The rich get richer."
the good thing for them too is that they're not going to expect him to do too much because
No.
they just brought Hollywood Brown in now. So I mean, they got another receiver, so like they can kind of just throw him in the mix as need be. And I don't think that he's going to have like a huge weight on his shoulders to like come in and take the load. You know, Rashee Rice too is going to be 1 year better, and he looked unbelievable too. So
and you know my feelings on Isaiah Pacheco. I think Pacheco is one of the more fun backs. Kyle, I don't know if you agree, but Pacheco to me, you know, Rutgers boy, you know, Jersey boy, you know, he's a tough guy. The way he runs, though, it personifies it. He's a guy that I love watching the guy run. I just love watching that guy run the football. He's a fun guy to watch.
All the memes of him all year long on Instagram too, of him just running through doors and just
his running style. He just runs like the fucking Terminator, dude.
If you close your eyes as an offensive lineman, there's a few running backs that you could just hear the difference between. And I'm not talking about like stomping feet. I'm talking like David Montgomery, for example, was a back that I played with. And if you didn't get your guy out of the way, you were going to be impaled by David Montgomery. Like he would hit you so fucking hard that you thought you got hit by a car, like a Kia hit you in the ass. That's the same way Pacheco is. He runs with that same kind of like violence. And I think the offensive line appreciates it. And you get a little bit of a boost as an O-lineman when you hear that, like 5 yards down the field. It's the best.
Yeah. All right, I'll go next, and then we can close it down with Joey D on this segment. I'll go. I thought the Atlanta Falcons had an absolute steal with Michael Penix Jr. I thought that was
really?
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I'm here to listen.
I'm kidding. No.
I like it.
It might be a decent opinion. It's just not my opinion. Someone else might have a good. Yeah, I'm actually going to go. I'm actually going to go with. I was just talking about how the Eagles did such a good job getting the two best cornerbacks in the draft, but the Lions, I thought, getting Terry and Arnold, you know, they had a very similar issue that the Eagles did on defense, where they had a pretty good interior, but they were just getting torched by wide receivers on the edges. And it was just putting a lot of pressure on Jared Goff and that offense to always need to score. And Terry and Arnold, coming from a Nick Saban run defense, you know, coming from Alabama, he's not the fastest guy out there, but he's very technically gifted from what I watched after the draft. I'm no Mel Kiper. A lot of takeaways, and he stays with his guy, man. He's glued to that guy, and he makes up for his speed just by just his footwork. He just seems to have the intuition to know where the route's going, and I think that's going to help the Lions out big time. Team that's already good. A lot of people think they were a one-year wonder. They're going to slip. It's going to be the Bears and the Packers again, and the Lions are going to fall. I think, you know, that might be the case, but I think that was a good pick by the Lions to help, you know, go against that going theory right now. So we'll see. I like that pick for them a lot, though. I thought they did a good job.
They got better.
They definitely got better. Joey D, how about you?
I'm going to go with a pick that was pretty high, but I think sometimes you have a tendency of overthinking, you know, a pick. And I'm going to go with Malik Neighbors at the New York Giants. I think this guy, any other year that Marvin Harrison Jr. is not in the draft, this guy would be a bona fide #1 overall wide receiver. And on a team that is desperate for playmakers and is desperate for guys who can, you know, make things happen, I think that they got a guy who is going to go out and make plays. And, you know, I don't know with the quarterback play with Daniel Jones, I don't know, but this is a guy who can give whoever's the quarterback there a huge target. He can go up and jump and make the catch and fucking beat the DB. I think this guy's a stud. I think he's a star, and he's the best thing that the Giants have had since Odell Beckham, their last LSU product that came out. I think he's a stud. I think he's going to have a really good career, and I think he's going to give them a little bit of versatility, at least in the passing game, that they haven't had in a long time.
Kyle,
where'd you have passing the ball a lot more without Saquon?
Kyle, where'd you have your top three? Because I think that was such a polarizing topic of conversation for this year's draft. Those top three receivers, and then, you know, the longer the offseason of college football lasts, and the longer the draft process lasts, and the pro days last, and the interviews, and the 30 visits last, the topic then was like, oh, Neighbors is better than Marvin Harrison Jr. Oh, this one's better. Where did you have those guys ranked in your 1, 2, 3 of desire? Harrison, Neighbors, and Odunze.
It's like, who do I have playing quarterback? What offense are we running?
Yeah, fair.
What city am I in? You know, I've heard things about all these guys. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Except for our guy, Rome Odunze. I mean, you know, Marvin Harrison Jr. is the number one.
Yeah.
I agree.
He's earned
No,
that.
I agree.
Now, I'm talking about coming out of college. You know what I'm saying? In 5 years, this may be a different conversation. We may
Sure.
looking at the connection between Rome Odunze and Caleb Williams as a historic one. You know what I'm saying? But I still think DJ Moore gets the volume. Keenan Allen will get second fiddle, and then he will hit Rome for the big plays. And then obviously we've got, you know, Rome and Malik and MHJ, and the big question mark here is the Malik stuff, because there's been so many things surrounding this LSU program that are great, and it seems like sometimes the only things we hear is about these LSU receivers, the question marks. And look, we talked about it before. Receivers and DBs, they're a different breed. Okay, like I don't expect them to follow the social norms as O-linemen. But at the end of the day, you're going to New York City and you're going to play for the Giants. And if you spend any time in New York, it's not like everywhere else in the country. So you better have your head on right. And if you do, you'll have an opportunity to make that offense that much better, because to your point, Cold Cuts, Malik Neighbors makes the game look really easy. He makes playing the game of football look pedestrian. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just simple to him. The same thing with Rome. I think the thing that translates the best is the ability to make contested catches, get down the field, and beat men at the vertical point, at the high point, and that's what Rome Odunze does very, very well.
You guys think though, like Neighbors playing the SEC, it's a much more overall like challenging, division than playing in the Pac-10 like Romeo Odunze played. Do you think that makes a big difference? Or is that just kind of, obviously Odunze played the big games against these big teams, but like on a week in, week out, I would make an argument that the SEC is just the best product with the best players and probably featuring the best defensive DBs in the country.
I would say, overall, you're probably right. And I remember when I got to the Bears and we drafted Eddie Jackson from Alabama, and he was dead serious when he looked us in the eye and said, "We would beat you guys. Our Alabama team would beat you guys." And it's like, all right, but that's the confidence that these guys have. That's the confidence that these guys have. And we saw him go out and have an Ed Reed-like season. And I was like, there's a reason that the guy came in there and said that with such conviction, because they've empowered him as such. I think these guys in the Pac-12, Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, Bo Nix in particular, are what's the opposite of a beneficiary of? They did not benefit from the Pac-12 going to the Big
almost
Ten.
Hindered by it almost.
They were born a year too early. Like if Bo Nix were in the Big Ten, every Minnesota Viking fan would say, we want Bo Nix. You know what I mean? Like that would be the pick, because I think he's that good of a football player. Nobody's, to your point about fucking Toledo and Bowling Green, how many people are staying up to watch the Oregon Ducks? You know what I mean?
And it's almost assumptive, like when you watch an Oregon game, like, and this goes back to even, Mariota. I mean, it's kind of like you just expect Oregon to score.
Can't wait to wake up and see the 58 burger they put up
That's
on.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
whoever.
Right.
You take it for granted, right?
Yep.
And Dan Lanning has gone to the University of Oregon and made it a real powerhouse. They have taken those SEC archetypes and brought them to the Pacific Northwest. So now you've got these big back, big neck, big ass motherfuckers getting off the bus for the Oregon Ducks that you used to be playing against when Darren Thomas went to LSU and played them a national championship, and it looked like two different football leagues. That's not the case anymore. Yes, it has been that way, but I think that we're going in the direction now where the Oregons of the world, the Washingtons of the world can line up toe to toe and fight with anybody.
Right. Kyle, one more thing for you before we move on. We have some viewer questions for you. Some people had some questions out there for you, but one more thing before we get there. Who do you think, just overall in the draft, who do you think came out? We talked a lot about the Bears. I think they're probably a popular opinion there. Who do you think was one of the teams that got significantly better? Who were the big winners from the draft that night?
I think the Rams were winners. And look, they were huge winners last year, and their culture, their offensive pedigree, the things that McVay is able to convey to Stafford, and then the things that Stafford's able to do physically to get Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp on the same page. Look, they lose potentially the best defensive player to ever play the game, not named Lawrence Taylor. And they go and they get 2 studs on the defensive line. You know what I mean? Like, this is what the Rams have done for a long time. And yes, they have success on offense, but it's a lot of it is done by that defense, getting the ball back in the offense's hands. And look, Matt Stafford took them boys down to the wire in Detroit. It was an HBO film that night.
That was awesome.
Fully anticipate this season being another one of those for Matt Stafford and the boys. And it started on draft night. Another great job by them.
Yeah.
First time picking in the first round in like 20 years for the Rams.
Yeah, true.
Good.
True.
Good to see. Fun to actually, see that. But
all right, let's move on to some questions from the people for Kyle. First question comes from Joel Carthcart. Who on the Green Bay Packers did the most trash talking when you played against them?
Mike Daniels.
Okay.
That was a quick response. You didn't need to think about that long.
And the guy who didn't say anything was Clay Matthews. And one time I gave up a sack to Peppers, and I was on the ground just like trying to get Peppers off the ball. And Clay goes, "Relax. You gave up a sack. It happened."
Nice
when you're
guy.
on the ground looking up
You
at
seem
Clay,
like a hell of a guy.
I'm like,
Oh,
he was
sure.
patronizing. You fuck faces, you Packers fucks.
See, that's what the Green Bay very patronizing.
I always
Very
loved
patronizing.
Clay.
You had great hair too, Mikey.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, he
another thing that
did.
aggravates you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he did.
Might as well. Actually, I should be joining Kyle in solidarity. So
There you go.
Fratello.
out of
Fratello.
respect, out of respect.
All right. Next question comes from Brady. For Kyle, do you ever wish you played in a title town like LA and Boston?
A title town. Explain that to me.
I think they just mean like a notoriously large city like New York, LA, Boston.
Have these people heard of the city of Chicago?
I
I
know.
mean, come
I
on,
know.
dog.
I feel
Massive
you.
city.
Hey,
Brady.
look, you know what? Jacksonville is the biggest in terms of like acreage. So, I mean, is that a title town as well? I fucking played in the best city in America. And
Ah,
I wouldn't have it any other way.
I will say Chicago, the last couple times we've gone, it's a nice city.
It's
Chicago's
aw- it's
beautiful,
so
man.
clean, man.
It's
It's,
the best.
wildly clean, by the way.
Safe,
Now I don't know if I'd
clean,
want to be there in
friendly.
the winter, but that's
Harsh
another
winters.
story.
Harsh winters. We were
Those
talking
Not
about
for
we
everybody.
were talking about the Hoth system earlier, Kyle. It's similar winters in
Gotta find an
Chicago.
alpaca, crawl up in
Yeah,
there.
yeah. Got to find the tauntaun crossing the Green River there. They're in St. Patty's Day.
It's got those canals running through it the whole way. It's
Yeah.
a gorgeous
Oh,
city, man. It really it's like
very
a
nice.
cleaner New York. I like it a lot more. Now, actually, piggybacking off of this question, I don't know if a lot of people know it, but going back to your father, I believe he is a Boston guy. Is he
Yep.
not? Did that ever cross your when you were a young man? Would either go on
I
to
wanted
be
to
a
play for the
pitcher
Red
or
Sox.
play for the Red Sox?
I went and had a private workout. I threw for Theo.
Wow.
I remember it was like 2008. I remember having an opportunity to go to Fenway, and like that was when Papelbon was throwing heat, and I wore 58 in football because of Jonathan Papelbon. Like I
Wow.
was a Sox
cool.
fan. You know what I mean?
That's cool,
Like,
yeah.
yeah. So love Boston. And Bill, when I came out of retirement, was the first call I got. He was on a Stairmaster, and he was like, "You want to come play with us?" And I was like, "Coach, I'm looking for kind of like a retirement community situation." For like, and he was like, "Well, you know how we operate." And I was like, "Thank you, sir. It's an honor and a pleasure to hear your voice." You know what I mean? Like
That's pretty
So,
fucking cool, though.
that
man.
was the boat that I
is.
missed there. So I didn't get to block
Never
for
would have
Mac
pegged
Jones.
Bill as a Stairmaster guy, but good for him.
You could see it, towel around the neck, hunched
think
over
so?
a bunch
Yeah,
of
the hunch,
a bunch
the
of
hunch.
plays,
Yeah.
diagrams. Just
Yeah.
do you remember in '97 when we ran that? You know.
So now you and Bear Down may, have a brothership with the Bears, but Mikey is a diehard Yankee fan. You got to have a little clash. You guys got to clash there with the Red Sox and the Yankees.
Yeah, there's beef. There's beef. I mean, it's old beef. The milk's gone bad, but I will say this: there's a lot of respect there. It's like the Packers and the Bears, man. There's a lot of respect there.
You have to
like I
respect.
said, like it just so happens that like I truly believe that my 3 favorite teams that I root for just happen to be entwined in the biggest rivalries in their respective sports. Bears, Packers. Obviously, I went to Ohio State post grad, so Ohio State, Michigan, and Yankees, Red Sox. I mean, I think that
That's
those
crazy.
are the 3 gold standard rivalries. So it just so happens that I get to witness the greatest rivalry game in the respective sport every single year, which is those games, those days are different to me. Like they just mean so much more. They're just so much more intense. They're so much more, they feel different. Like it just those games feel different to me. And
Packer week.
I wouldn't, right. Yeah, sure. And I
The
wouldn't
biggest
trade
one
that
though,
for anything.
Ohio State week against Michigan.
Oh,
Michigan.
that's scary.
You
That's
can't
terrible.
even tell. You can't talk to Mikey.
That's
Just
totally
don't.
different.
Just
That's
I've learned. Just
I was
leave
almost a
it be.
Buckeye, by the way.
Oh,
Really?
Kyle, don't do that to me.
Oh.
Don't do that to me, man.
In
Don't do that to me,
in
dog.
2007,
Ugh.
Mike Adams, JB
Mike Adams,
Shugarts,
75.
Mike Brewster, and myself were all going to commit to do we were going to be the block O. That's what it was like. They were like, we're going to get these 4 or 5 stars. And I was like, guys, I'm going to play baseball. Like I'm not coming.
2009, you would have been blocking for Terrell Pryor.
I would have had a lot of fucking tattoos, buddy.
Yeah, well, yeah. They deserve their forgiveness now. They've paid their penance. Give them back their wins. All
Jim
those boys.
Tressel was a class act. I cannot
Senator
tell you,
Tressel.
when my parents met Coach Tressel and spent time and we had dinner, they were like, "Are you committing?" Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's the deal? This is pretty awesome here.
Man, that would have been something. Man, that would have been something. Man, that would have been something.
Like
man.
Alex Boone showed
You guys
me on my
still
visit,
won that year, didn't
Alex
you, Mikey?
Boone. No,
and I was like, Dad, I don't know if I can go to school here.
2000
Alex Boone has a lot of tattoos.
What year did they win with
So-
Terrell Pryor?
Was that
So
Terrell
if-
Pryor? Yeah.
So if Kyle was looking
Troy
in
Smith and then
Yeah,
Terrell
Troy
Pryor.
Smith.
if Kyle was
Oh.
looking in 2008, that was the national championship year. Troy was gone already. But that
I was
was
there
the
in
07.
2007.
That was the 07 season. That was Todd Beckman and I believe Beanie Wells that lost to LSU.
Beanie Wells.
Oh, wow, what a
My
name.
dog.
Is that your dog?
I was at
Is it?
CBS in the
Wow.
studio, and like every once in a while, the college guys will come through. Like, it'll be the college football crew will walk
Right.
through the
Right.
the green room or whatever, and I'm in there packing a dip, like hanging out. And he's like, Kyle? And I looked and I was like, I was like, I know this guy. He was like, it's Beanie. And I was like, bro, like you showed me around in 2007. You and Alex Boone are the reason that I probably didn't commit. We had so much fun.
Yeah.
Troy Smith
That's
off to
rough.
an illustrious career with the Baltimore Ravens, by the way.
Mm.
All right, one more question. This one comes from Lane Sulek, and then we'll move on to, I'm not sure if Mikey briefed you on, we have a segment called Who's a Problem, where you just come up with any problem in sports, any problem in history, just someone who's a problem in your life, something that you've seen. But before we get there, we'll go to Lane Sulek. Who can bench more, Mikey or Kyle?
Kyle,
Mikey,
bro.
probably.
Oh, we got the disparity here.
No.
Well, look, I have no operating labrums or UCLs. I've often been told I have bitch tits. No, here's the deal. I was a pitcher. I wasn't allowed to bench. So when I went to the combine, you do your bench, and I got up on stage, and they were like, Oregon guard Kyle Long, and I said, I'm not benching, and they were like, why? Everybody was like, we want to see benching. We came here
Yeah.
to see benching, and I
Yeah.
said, because I don't bench.
Yep.
And a lot of people, I saw them write the red thing on the paper.
Explain to these guys, Kyle, when you are 6. Now, I don't know what your sleeve length is. I'm going to guess you're a 36, 37, 37, 38
I'm a power
guy.
clean guy instead of a bench guy. My dad said the minute they put the bench press at the 50-yard line, I'll start doing it. And then he's also said bench is only for guys who are pushing themselves off the ground after they get chucked. And the power clean stuff, the snatches, the squats, That is the powerhouse of the cell, bro. Like, if you want titty meat, move to fucking Venice Beach and get yourself a Gold's Gym membership and go bronze up your homies. I'm not going to judge you. That's awesome. But
The Hulkster.
in football, you gain mass in your ass.
Yeah.
And that's how you put guys on the grass.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
That was like poetry.
But also, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you ever benched at all, I mean, just arm length alone for me to do one full rep, chest all the way up. It's a long way to go, dog. It's a long way to go. It's a long journey. Every guy
I never thought of it like that.
Every guy that's great at benching, and I'm talking about mutants.
That's why the guys, they throw their chest up as high as they can so that the rep is like, oh,
dude.
And
they all got they're all shorter guys with these tiny T-Rex arms, and they could just go, and they're doing 500. But,
yes.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. All right.
Let's play this game because my wife and I we have to finish our Shogun. You know, I got to get my Japanese fix in tonight.
Okay. All right. We got to get the Shogun. We'll quickly do who's a problem. Mikey,
I like this segment.
Yeah, we'll start with Mikey. Mikey, who's a problem this week?
This week, it's a great question, Ticket. I actually had a couple candidates possibly for who's a problem this week, but you know what? I saw some stuff on Twitter today, and I'm just going to say this, and I'm not attacking them, and I'm not saying that they're not going to be great and that they're going to. The Sanders family, Deion and Shedeur Sanders. The interaction today on Twitter, I'm just going to say, was very bizarre with this former Colorado corner. Uncouth. That's a great way to put it.
Word, yeah.
I just don't think it's a good look for Deion. I don't think it's necessary. I think the guy is an icon of the game. I don't think it's necessary for him to clap at like a former player that entered the transfer portal. Maybe the former player was being soft. Maybe he wasn't. Basically, he was complaining about how he never felt the love when he was at Colorado, and he felt like he was being totally ignored, yada, 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 whatever. Shedeur clapped at him. A receiver clapped back at Shedeur. Then Deion got involved and started. It's just very, very messy what's going on in Colorado. And I think Colorado needs to just focus on winning football games. And if he thinks that his son's going to go number one overall, I just think this is a dumb distraction to everything. So I'm going to say the Sanders family this week is a bit of a problem for me, Tick.
All right.
I'll go second here.
Yeah,
sure.
Go, Kyle.
What do you think?
After you.
Well, it's fresh in my mind because he gave me an idea. It is athletes, college or pro, that post practice tape. I've noticed this a lot, and I coached a bit last year in high school, and I played in college in the pros, and for some reason, there's always one guy that likes to post things from practice, whether it's them beating somebody or something happening. That is our temple, dude. Like, that is supposed to be a sacred place. You're supposed to take chances as an athlete in practice. You're supposed to go and try new techniques. There are things that I did in practice against Akeem Hicks from a technical standpoint that I would never try against him on Sundays. And he abused me and embarrassed me, but nobody got to see it. And I respect him for not putting it on the internet. I lose a lot of respect for young players who are trying to embarrass or trying to lift themselves up at their own teammates' expenses. If you want to lift yourself up, go beat the hell out of some of these guys on Saturdays and Sundays. And I think that's the quickest way to gain respect, is to go fucking just do it.
Fair enough. I'll go next, and then we'll shut it down with Joey D. I'll keep mine quick. I got a problem with the Anti-Doping Association. They're coming out way after the fact saying that Ryan Garcia in that fight with Devin Haney had tested positive for something. I mean, that fight feels like 2 weeks ago. I could find out tomorrow or within hours if I have COVID. They'll tell me right away. The way you can test nowadays, you're telling me you can't test Ryan Garcia 2 hours before the fight when he's already showed up to the ring and tell him whether there's something in his body. We're finding out 2 weeks later. I mean, come on. Enough is enough. Either let these guys do it, either they don't. I mean, the lying, the gambling, it's just enough. It's just absolutely enough. I'm sick of them. It's sketchy, and it's just taking away from a sport that's already beaten and battered by the UFC.
Yeah, you ain't lying about that.
Enough is enough.
Yeah.
The Anti-Doping Association involved with boxing is my problem this week. Joey D, who's your problem?
The Atlanta Falcons, man, drafting Michael Penix Jr. after signing after you go and sign a guy to a 4-year contract like that and basically hand the keys to your football team and say, you're going to be our guy, Cousins. You're our guy. No questions asked. Penix is what, 27? How old is Penix?
24, dickhead.
20. Well, you'd
Is
be
he
27. No, it'd be 27 by the time he
he's
plays.
24.
I
Yeah,
was
he's
a 24-year-old
He
rookie.
feels like
so
he might
I'm
be
defensive.
30. I mean, for a quarterback, he's not a young guy. Let's leave it at that. The guy is not young. He's had a bunch of injuries.
A ton of injuries.
So here's the thing: is like you're using him as an insurance
23.
policy, but it's like getting an insurance policy or like getting a rental car for your vehicle that you're bringing in, and it's got like a blown tire. Like I think Penix is unbelievable. But my issue is that they literally, by doing that, gifted Rome Odunze now to the Bears team, which is now going to be so much better offensively than anyone they could have gotten had Odunze been taken. And I think, why not? If I'm Kirk Cousins, I come to a team, I want to win. I want to be successful. Yeah, they got decent players, who can make plays. Drake London, but you get Odunze and you bring him there. That's automatically giving your guy another piece to be successful and win. Instead, you find out that they're drafting another quarterback, and now you're losing a piece. And now, as a Packers fan, I got to watch an undeniable talent go to a rival team in the Bears that you should never have had. So happy for you. But that being said, Atlanta Falcons are a big problem in my books.
What was your take on that pick, Kyle? The Penix pick.
I think that the issue with the Atlanta Falcons was a quarterback issue. And I think that they have enough skill on that offense, clearly, to get down the field.
I agree.
Every game, a multitude of times, a number of times each game, that offense was in the red area. The issue was being able to finish. That, to me, starts with the experience of the quarterback. And you bring a guy like Kirk Cousins in, and you know that his floor is extremely high, and he has a high ceiling. He was playing MVP caliber football last year. The Achilles is a question mark, but if there's a guy that you're going to bet did the rehab the right way, Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is coming back with a stronger Achilles than he had last year. You know what I'm saying? You bring a guy like
buy one for the amount of money he's making. I mean, you just buy a new Achilles.
You bring a guy like Penix in. And God forbid something happens like what happened to the New York Football Jets. You're not sitting on Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you like it then?
I'm not mad at it. I'm not here to say I like it, but I get it.
As a Bears fan, getting Odunze, that helps.
You add Rome Odunze, and then you get another bastion of Falcons fans who are like, there's another guy we have to throw to more. Kyle Pitts,
you think like
London,
Bijan Robinson.
They
now
all need touches.
Darnell
so you bring
Mooney.
a guy like Roman.
Oh, Mikey.
You bring
they
a guy
paid
like
him.
Roman,
They paid him.
And you may have more issues offensively.
Yeah. Fair enough.
But it's still a problem because now Odunze is sitting nestled under a Christmas tree with the Bears offense.
But they're not in our division, so they don't really give a fuck.
No, I know. I do. That's why they're my problem.
Ryan, maybe Ryan Pace behind the scenes in Atlanta's pulling a couple strings for his old boys in Chicago. Could be a little collusion
he probably
there.
sent them a Zach Wilson lowlight tape from the New York Jets. And he said, you better go get this guy, Michael Penix, because he can sling that fucking rock.
Sure can.
Well, on that note, let's give Kyle a round of applause, man. Thank you for joining the show. We really appreciate it. Shogun
awesome,
waits.
Man.
Let us know.
Shogun.
We'll wait for the review.
Yes.
Appreciate you coming on, man. You were a class act. Really appreciate you joining the program.
This was a lot of fun, and I got to meet your guy Perez a few weeks ago, and he was a pleasure, and we had a good time hanging out. So I'll see y'all soon. Holler at me whenever, Mikey. Whenever you need me, let me know.
Thanks, we appreciate you, Kyle. Thank you, man.
Thank you, Kyle.
All right, guys. Take it
care.
easy.
What a great guy. Appreciate having him on. We'll do a few more topics. We'll do a few more questions, and then we'll get out of here. But that was a great guest. Thank you, Mikey, for bringing him on. Appreciate it.
Listen, personally, on a personal note for me, that was a bucket list thing. Again, I was a huge Kyle fan when they drafted him. Like I said, only offensive line jersey I've ever owned in my life. I thought he was a quintessential Chicago Bear, and he still is to this day. And dream come true to be able to have a real conversation with him. Just great.
Yeah.
Just great.
Absolutely great. I think we're batting 1,000 on guests so far.
We are.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Quick thing. Mike Tyson, Jake Paul fight. It's a sanctioned fight. Mikey. Tough transition.
How the fuck are we going from that we are going from a highlight to a low light, dog. That is
Mikey doesn't want to hear it.
That's hard. I know Jake Paul's favored. Is that where this is going?
Sure. Yeah, it sure is.
Okay.
Yes.
So what is it at now? Because I saw it open. He was like minus 135, minus 150. What's it at now?
I saw it at minus 160. I could be wrong. The last I saw was minus 160.
Guys, this fight, you got an age disparity of 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
You got a guy in Mike Tyson who we don't know what kind of conditioning he has right now. You got a guy like Paul who is in peak physical condition. Whether he's a boxer or not, you could argue it till you're blue in the face. He's been a boxer for the last however many years, so let's call him a boxer. I am still taking the position of until Jake Paul fights relevant guys in his weight division, which he will never do because he wants massive paydays. And as long as we keep talking about him, he's going to get his massive paydays, and all the power to him for it. For him to be favored over Mike Tyson just shows how much of a farce this whole thing is. We are tearing down. We are tearing down an icon of the sport. We are tearing down the baddest man on the planet because of a fucking YouTuber. That's what we're doing here. And to me, it's sad because
he's got to agree to fight, though, Mike. It's not like anybody's
of course, because it's a money grab, and I
point.
don't blame Tyson either.
Well,
but I'm saying nobody's putting a gun to his head. It's not like he's.
You know how much
forcing
money
him to
he's
fight.
going to make off this? You can't deny
enough.
that. It's more generational money.
I mean,
God knows how
Mike Tyson has seen
God knows-
generational talent.
God knows how he spent that money, Joe. Certain habits that he may have had, buying a fucking tiger, mansions, whatever the fuck he did with his money.
He got that tiger on sale, Mikey.
Yeah,
that
sure,
tiger was on sale,
okay.
pal.
And with the tiger, he put the tiger on layaway. But anyway, the bottom
Some say
line
he got it
is
from the Tiger King.
I don't blame him I don't blame either of them for doing it. I don't.
Okay.
My beef is more along the lines. Everybody wants to bitch and moan about how boxing is just not what it used to be. Things like this will only hurt the sport. It's not going to help the sport. There'll be a massive viewer spike for it. Everyone will watch it, but you know what nobody's going to watch? The regular fights this Saturday night of No Name Joe against No Name Jim.
point.
Nobody's going
Yeah.
to watch it. So it's just
Are
depressing
you
because
watching
boxing was so great. Yeah, I'll be watching it.
Well,
Well, I mean, listen, they got me too, Tick. They got me too.
right.
And I'll be
Is it-
rooting.
is
And
it
I'll be
now- is it
rooting
free?
vehemently. I'll be rooting
no, it's not
vehemently.
free. It's pay-per-view still. It's still
I thought it was on
pay-per-view.
Netflix.
It's on Netflix.
No, but I thought Netflix was
As
running
long
a
as-
pay-per-view program.
I'm under the impression that as long as you subscribe to Netflix, you can watch it.
But then where does the money come from for them?
Because they're anticipating that they're going to get buys to net. Like people are going to subscribe to Netflix. They're going to get a bunch of buys.
Who isn't subscribed to Netflix already?
I don't know. But I
That's
do
crazy.
because I think I looked this up. I'll look it up again while you guys talk, but I don't think there's an additional price to it. Now I could be wrong. But
I haven't
anyway,
met a person in years who doesn't have Netflix.
Or you just borrow someone's password. That's
how
crazy.
great would it be if Tyson just landed a fucking haymaker and just knocked him out?
well,
Would you
but
post it
How
on your
great-
Kangas coolers?
No,
Oh, yeah. Oh,
no,
yeah.
that's not a Kanga cooler. How is
That's
that a
a
Kanga
cooler.
cooler?
Because he's a big,
that's a
huge
cooler.
dog. He's a
No,
dog.
he's not a minus 300 dog, Mikey. He's
You mean a
minus
plus
minus
300,
160.
a plus
Sorry,
300
yeah.
dog.
He's plus 150.
Yeah.
It's
That's
a
not
big
crazy.
dog. To knock
That's not a
someone
big
I can't.
dog.
That's
Here's
the win, though.
I
That's the
can't
win, not
believe.
to knock him out.
I can't believe that they fucking sanctioned this as a pro fight. This is an exhibition. This is an
Mikey,
exhibition. You're going to see it's an exhibition.
What is the odds of Mike Tyson finishing the fight in a knockout? That's got to be.
Yeah, the odds
That's
are
what
way
I'm
higher.
saying, Tick.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
got to
true.
be
You're
way
right.
higher
You're right.
than
You're
him
right.
just money line.
Yeah,
A knockout
you're right.
for Tyson's got to be on the Kanga cooler.
Now I've been telling
It's
Bob.
got to be
this for-
huge odds.
I've been
Here you
telling
go.
Bob.
Here you
okay.
go. Here you go.
It's got to be
Tick.
huge odds. Knockout by
Knockout
Tyson win by knockout. That's got to be like plus
okay,
250.
July 20th,
Uh-huh.
Netflix streaming. How much does the fight cost? Netflix pricing plan, standard with ads, $7 a month, standard, $15.49 or premium, $22.99.
I swear to God, Netflix is a money laundering scheme. It makes how are they making money, man? No ads, free fights.
Well, they have tiers.
Everyone shares
They
passwords.
have tiers. Yeah,
Since
but they cut yeah, they do, because you could buy Netflix with ads for $6.99. You could get standard for $12 or $14.99, and then the one where you got to get, like, if you want like 4K quality picture and all that, that's $22.
I've never seen a single ad on anyone's Netflix ever. I've never seen
because
an ad,
I don't
ever.
think a lot of people have that one. I don't think a lot of people have that one that have Netflix, because I think you had to like downgrade down to that if you had the regular subscription.
Got it.
But I think that I guess they're anticipating like Peacock with the NFL playoff game, that people are just going to buy for this one event and forget to unsubscribe, or maybe they're going to fuck around and say, oh, you know what? I'm going to keep this. I like it, whatever. But yeah, I listen, I just hope, I hope that I shouldn't hope, because it's going to, Jake Paul's going to win the fight. There's going to be no knockouts.
Would you ever venture into the realm of, and I've told Bob this a lot, for years, I've been telling him, I think they're fixed. I truly do. Do you?
No, do you?
Joe, you've always said no, and I think they
might.
Well,
he lost one though.
Yeah, because that was a real fighter, he fought. Well, when I say a real fighter,
I'm saying,
I mean a semi-relevant young guy that is a boxer, not an MMA guy, not a 50-year-old guy. Tommy Fury's a respectable.
Would you ever venture into that, Mikey, thinking that it might be?
Yeah, absolutely.
I would too. Okay.
Absolutely. Here's what I'll say. It's not fixed to the point where like they're faking it. Like they know, like, I'm going to fake a knockout, or you're going to go down in this round. You're going to take a dive. But it's like, okay, we're agreeing that we're going to dance around, and we're going to exchange jabs and this, that, and it's kind of like Mayweather McGregor. I felt the same way about that. I thought that was a big scheme. I thought all the build up to it, I thought half the shit that they did pre-fight was all fake. And to an extent.
Or how about Ngannou too? The Ngannou fight with
against Tyson Fury?
Yeah, Tyson Fury. I thought something fishy was happening there too.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's ugly, man. It's ugly, but
by the way,
it's such a popcorn headline that
plus 200 just to win.
Yeah, he's
and Jake Paul's minus 250.
He's minus 250.
I just looked right here. Looked.
This may be one of the worst. I'm telling you right now, if they don't make this look good, it may be over in the first round, because Tyson, I don't know what kind of condition this guy is in. I at 60 years old, 59 years old, I really don't know what kind of condition like I know plenty of 60-year-olds who are in great shape. They're in great shape. They could run 8 miles a day. I've seen it. But I'm talking about boxing condition. Like, come on, man.
A guy's trying to kill you. A guy's trying to kill you.
Yes, that's right. Now, is he going to try and kill him? That's the thing. It's going to be fascinating. Of course, I'm going to watch it.
Tyson's been running a podcast for the last 10 years called Hot Boxing with Mike Tyson.
Really?
He's high the whole time. He's smoking weed.
Yeah,
Hot boxing.
Oh, got it. That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
It is cool, but it also tells you, like, what kind of shape could he possibly be in?
He's got to be talking about wild shit on that.
Oh, of course. Yeah. And it was great.
I got to give that a listen.
Yeah,
I think I got to throw some money on Jake Paul, man.
That's disheartening. But I get it.
I mean, Mikey. I mean,
I get it. No, I get it.
Guy's hot boxing in a fucking podcast.
But that being said, he's got the most lethal right hand of all time. I mean, that's
why it's sad, dog. That's why it's sad, man.
Why does that make it sad?
Because the guy it would be like, because
imagine Tyson 25 years ago.
It would be like, let's say that who played in the Super Bowl? Let's say that Brock Purdy broke his arm before the Super Bowl, and they brought Joe Montana back to play against Patrick Mahomes. It would be like, it would never happen, right? But in boxing, somehow it is happening.
He's right. He's not wrong.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a great analogy.
You have this image
However, in
respect.
that analogy, you're making Jake Paul Patrick Mahomes.
Correct.
which is maybe not fair. He might be more.
No,
of a
it's
Kirk
not.
Cousins.
But I'm just trying to think of a relevant.
Right. No, but that
analogy
is a good
in the
analogy.
sports
You're right.
world.
You're right.
So it's
Yeah,
like you
true.
hold a guy like Joe Montana
Right.
in the highest regard. You hold a guy like Mike Tyson as arguably the greatest heavyweight maybe ever. Certainly the most dangerous ever.
Well, it's like taking Tiger Woods and expecting him to win a Masters now.
Sort
And
of.
he's not even in his 60s.
Sort of. I
That's a
mean,
good
I don't
analogy.
know.
Yeah.
It is. But like,
You just want him to make the cut. I mean, you just want to see him make the cut.
Woods has been playing at least. Like, when's the last time Tyson fought?
It's kind of like Woods in 10 more years. Woods.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now
Yeah.
that's right. That's right. That's right. Only this is a lot more insulting because we're not talking about swinging a 7-iron. We're talking about taking a fucking right cross to the face as an old man.
Yeah.
He's a psychopath, man. I'll give him that much.
He is a psycho.
This has got they got to be making so much money from this. The purse
Tyson?
for them. Yeah, the estimate is somewhere in the 50 to 300 million range in terms of how much money Tyson's going to make in the fight. 50 to 300 million.
What is Jake Paul gonna make?
That's a crazy range. 50
It is a crazy
to
range,
300 million.
I guess it depends on how many. There's definitely an
rounds it
agreement
goes.
in there how many buys they get on Netflix, new subscribers. I'm sure. But
Sure. Yeah,
Crazy,
absolutely. Okay. All right. Let's move on to a few viewer questions and then we will get out of here. Tough transition, I will admit it, from Kyle Long to Mike Tyson. But
now I'm just reading that the closest estimation is 20 million. Unofficial sources say Tyson will earn 20 million for the fight.
That's still a
That
shit ton of money.
That seems low, though. That seems
Jake
really
Paul's, You want to be disgusted by something?
100 million.
Jake Paul's net worth estimated to be 8 times bigger than Mike Tyson's.
low. Well, it sounds like Mike. You just listed all the reasons that why Mike Tyson's net worth has gone down. The tiger,
I know,
the
but isn't
lifestyle.
that just crazy, man? Isn't that just crazy?
The best
That's
quarterbacks
crazy.
20, 30 years ago were making peanuts compared to now.
I get it, but
Everything
if you
has
think, like,
changed.
I know it's so sad though, man. Like, what has Jake Paul done?
They did a
What has
thing- they did
Jake
a
Paul
thing-
done? Like, what has he done?
Mikey, they did a thing where they looked at Tiger Woods and they said in 2000.
I saw where they did like
He
an
would've made
estimated earnings.
Yeah, if I think it was 2004 or 2000, one of those years where he went nuts. If they would have taken the earnings that he would have won that year and brought it to this year, would have won $100 million.
Yeah, I know. As opposed to like he made like 9 or 10 million.
18 million or something like that.
Yeah.
It's
I saw that.
That's just the way that everything's gone up, man.
In 10 years, Joey Coldcut's net worth is going to be 10 times Mike Tyson.
Yeah, because I don't know about that, man.
Better start selling that seltzer, Joseph. Start
Bubba's
pushing that seltzer.
Bubba's going to be eating real good.
Yeah.
I got a deal with him for coming up. It's a brand deal.
With Purina?
With your dog?
No, with the farmer's dog. Look at this guy, by the way. He just couldn't stand. He clocked out once Kyle Long was gone.
Yeah, I don't blame him. You go from Kyle Long to Jake Paul. It's a tough transition.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to a few viewer questions and then we'll skedaddle here. First one comes from Luke Guarnaccio. Top 3 holy shit moments in sports history. I don't know if we can maybe the cumulative, the 3 of us can come together for those 3. We don't all have to do a 3, but top 3 holy shit moments in sports history.
I'm talking a lot of Tiger. I'll say it again. Tiger Woods winning the Masters 2019. I don't think anybody in their right minds thought that there was a world where that could possibly happen. And he went out and did the impossible. And to me, that was unbelievable to watch. I think everybody was shocked and in awe. And I mean, if that's not a holy shit moment, I don't know what is. I really don't.
I'll take 1993 AFC wildcard game, Houston Oilers, Buffalo Bills.
Oh,
No Jim Kelly, Frank Reich, backup quarterback for Buffalo, down 32 at halftime. And
Frank Wycheck.
Frank Reich.
No, I think it was Frank Wycheck.
The quarterback?
No, the guy who threw the pass. The guy who threw the lateral pass. That's what you're talking about?
No, you're talking about the Music City Miracle.
Are you not? Is that what you're
No,
talking about?
I'm talking about Warren Moon leading the Houston Oilers against the Buffalo Bills, 93 wildcard game in Buffalo. Jim Kelly's hurt. Frank Reich is the backup for Buffalo. They're down 32 points at halftime, the Bills. and they come all the way back, the greatest comeback in NFL playoff history, and beat the Houston Oilers. Now I was very young with that game, but I remember watching like repeats of that on ESPN Classic when that was still a thing. And just it's just to this day, still, it's unfathomable. To blow a 32-point lead at halftime in a playoff game it's unfathomable. If I was a fan of the team that blew a 32, I don't even know if I could watch another game. I would be so disgusted. So that to me was one of the biggest holy shit moments.
I heard Jim Kelly and Buffalo Bills in Tennessee, and I just thought,
No, yeah, that's fair.
Because
yeah,
that was a holy shit moment.
Yeah,
too.
that was as well. Music City Miracle, of course. Yep.
I don't know if it belongs on there, but the first thing that came to my mind was the classic Christian Laettner clip where there's like 0.7 seconds left and he inbounds the ball all the way down the court and they lay it up.
Yep.
I mean, that's got to be up there. Maybe it wasn't a moment, but like the giant, the David Tyree catch.
Oh, that was
gum on the helmet. I'll never forget. That was
Immaculate Reception. Immaculate Reception is definitely up there.
Which one's the one where the band's running onto the field and the
Cal
Stanford.
Yeah.
Right, Cal Stanford. Yeah, that's got to be one.
Band is on the field.
The band is
just
on the field.
nails that one band member.
Yo, just runs over the tuba player, dog. Deletes the fucking poor guy with the trombone and the fucking sousaphone and the baritone.
Tough scene.
Can you
the horn
imagine
section? It was a bad day.
Can you imagine being a tuba player and a guy like Kyle Long running at full speed, just fucking trucking you?
Dude, dude, do you know what kind of an athlete, just an overall athlete? The guy tried out with the Theo Epstein Red Sox.
I know.
The guy got drafted by the White Sox. The guy went from playing D-end in college to offensive line, only started 6 games in college and gets drafted in the first round of the draft, then makes the Pro Bowl as a guard. And he's like, fuck it. They're going to move me to tackle. I'll go ahead and make Pro Bowl a tackle too. Like the level of God-given genetics and athleticism there is just like, you can't speak to that. Like normal people just can't relate to that. It's mind-blowing to me.
I'll give one more holy shit moment, by the way. And Mikey's not going to like it, but I think you have to say the Red Sox coming back to beat.
The 4 games?
Yeah.
No, I was going to say that.
That was one of the craziest,
sure.
most insane, and then come back and then win the World Series on top of that and break the curse of the great Bambino. I mean, that, whether or not, you know, I understand that you know, but that has to be there. That was
No, it is. It is.
Well, how about the Boston Bruins coming back against the Vancouver Canucks with just like 4 minutes left? I mean, they scored 5 goals in like 5 minutes.
Listen, I gave the Canucks their due and proper this week on Cuzzy's Cooler.
They're great.
It was fun to watch.
Canucks are fun to watch.
A picture of my face there. With that being said,
I didn't. By the way, you could blame Mr. Anderson for that. That's a Mr. Anderson bag job.
I thought it was great. I liked it. I thought it was great.
Mr. Anderson does all the editing for Cuzzy's Cooler.
I thought it was
Does
great.
he really?
Yeah. I'll do like I'll shoot like my clip and then he'll do everything over it. Yeah.
Very well done.
Yeah. As everything is that he does. We got to get a couple more questions.
Great. Yep. Next question comes from Jay Flood. What is your go-to after dinner drink?
Go-to after dinner drink.
Espresso. See, some people like to start the dinner with espresso martini, but to me, it was always the dessert martini, espresso martini. Like when I started dinner, like a dinner out, I'm assuming because at home I really don't have an after dinner drink often, if ever. But at dinner, like to me, like espresso martini was a dessert martini. I like to end my dinner with an espresso martini.
Yeah, that's a nice touch, Mikey. I'll do. I mean, when I was younger, I used to do this all the time. I do a shot of Sambuca. I think it's a nice way to finish the dinner. But I don't drink hardly at all anymore now. I really don't. Unless I'm going out for
you're not a big
dinner.
drinker. You really don't.
If I go out for a big dinner or something, then I will definitely have some cocktails and stuff. But like at home on a regular day, I just give me a cup of tea, man.
You know why that is?
Because I'm old, man. Yeah, I'm getting a little long in the tooth, Michael.
Dude, you can't like. Guys listening to this show are still in their 20s. Our demographic is a large portion, I'm sure, early 20s, mid 20s. Like, you just like everything just doesn't work the same way when you get over 35, bro. Like, it just does not. Like, it just doesn't. Your bounce back is nowhere near the bounce back of 25, of 28, of 30. It's just not.
Not
You
at
hit
all.
a certain age and it's like, holy shit, what the fuck? It's wild. Wild.
Yeah, but also we're not talking about a bender here. We're just talking about after a dinner having a drink.
Yeah, I think my thing is like, I don't see a point in really doing it, to be honest. You know what I mean? Like, again,
I tell
like
you
Joe
what,
said,
when-
if you're out, I could see, you know,
Right.
but at home, like maybe
Oh.
once in a great while, I'll pour a nice scotch. Once in a great while, I'll do that.
Yeah, nice whiskey is
If it's
really.
a Friday or a Saturday, I'm going to watch a game or something. Maybe I'll do that. But
I got
other
you a
than
nice
that, I
bottle
really-
over there, Mikey.
Yeah, Johnny JW Blue back
Yeah.
there.
I tell
Looking
you
mighty
what,
fine.
we went to Carbone a couple, maybe like a month ago now. Mikey got pretty excited about the limoncello that came out.
Yeah,
after
that's
the
a nice
episode.
touch.
Yeah, you know why? Because that's like
A
something like
chilled.
number one, I knew it was like homemade. You could tell it was like wherever they got it, some old guinea made it in like his bathtub or something like that. So I respect that, number one. And then number two, like you just know at that point in a place like that, like it's going to be so good. And you just don't get like, I never am one to ever buy a limoncello bottle. Like it's not something I'd ever seek out. So like I did get excited because in Italy, that's a very common thing that they'll give you whenever you go to any restaurant. You're getting a glass of red wine as soon as you sit down, no matter what meal it is, and then a limoncello shot to close it out. So it was a nice touch. Carbone, classy, nice.
Yeah, real class.
Very classy.
Very nice.
I think it's just hard to beat. Just like, forget the martini part. Just an espresso after dinner. I think that's just. I think it's just a nice
Affogado's
touch.
real nice touch.
An affogato,
The
of
guy
course.
loves his
Affogato.
affogatos,
You
bro.
sure do. Joe loves
He
it.
loves his affogato.
All right, we'll do one more. This one comes from Lee. Any bully stories from your youth, whether you were the bully or you got bullied?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got bullied.
Sure. I think everybody gets bullied at one point or another. I mean, I'm sure I was a dickbag to people at certain points, but football back in the day, high school football, I mean, when you were a freshman, you were getting fucking bullied. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like I remember, and you know, one day I remember snapping on this one fucking kid who was like a senior, and he was nonstop with me, just fucking with me. I was a freshman, and
That's what it takes, though.
I mean, you got to snap. You eventually
gotta stick up for yourself.
You got to stick
True.
up for yourself eventually, and then you know
Yeah.
what? Usually
gain
that
respect.
They
that
stop.
ends it. Yep.
Yeah.
They almost kind of do it until they see you stick
right.
up for yourself.
It's kind of like they're waiting to see when you'll stand up for yourself.
Yeah, especially in school sports like football, man. That's like you got to be tough, man. You got to have some. I would get absolutely leveled in fucking practice, dude. There was a couple guys who were linebackers, and they would make me do these fucking cross routes. And a couple times, this one guy, this Portuguese, the guy named Nelson Santos, he would fucking
Damn, bro. Damn, bro.
He
Put him on
was
blast.
built.
This is-
No, we became friends after high school. We hung out and stuff. Like he's a good guy, but he was the kind of guy like he took practice like it was a game. And if you came in his area, he didn't give a fuck, especially because I was just a whatever receiver. It wasn't like I was a star running back, you know, like he would put me on my fucking ass a couple times. And I was like, oh my, you get up, you seeing stars.
Yo,
and it's
getting
like,
blindside decleated in football from any angle at any
it
position
fucking hurts.
was the worst. Like it was the worst immediate pain. Not pain. I don't want to say I will say it's the most immediate severe shock to the body that you could ever have. It just is. It's just an immediate shock to the body, and there's nothing like it. It's horrible. Horrible.
It's not fun.
I remember I played freshman football, man, and it was like my dad, for whatever, I think he was working or whatever, he could hardly come to games or something just because of the timing. And he came to one of these games, and I was on kickoff that day. It was the beginning of
You got leveled?
Yo, old kickoffs were bloodbaths,
bro.
bro.
It was an
I
old
got-
kickoff, and I was running up, and I was like trying to, because I was much better on kick return, but
Sure.
anyway, it was kickoff, and I was going, and I was like, I was making a beeline
You-
towards
yeah,
this
you
guy, and I
start
had
flying.
a track on him, and out of fucking nowhere I guess I was just seeing straight in front of me, like all of a
Tunnel
sudden my
vision.
peripheral tunnel vision, and I got fucking leveled by a guy at least 100 pounds more than me, and I flew through the air, and it was so shocking to my body that I don't think I played the rest of the game. I was normally I think I was the starting guard at that time. I was 150-pound starting guard, and I don't think I played the rest of the game. I got fucked up, man.
I have a similar story, but on the kick return, no one showed me how to fucking properly how to set up and that you had to run all the way back.
Right.
And you're running and then go into the guy. So I started running back and I just stopped and planted myself as this guy came full steam, and he went like this and he was running kind of like it sounded like you were. And I went fucking flying, hit my head, did a somersault, backward somersault, couldn't see anything. And the coach was this old school, fucking just 80-year-old football coach. He's like, way to go, Damar. He didn't get our returner because he fucking got leveled. And I could barely walk back to the sideline because everybody was just like, oh, when you get smashed, everybody's just laughing at you.
Yeah.
Not a good scene, man.
Yeah, Mikey played at a much higher level than I'm sure me and you did, but getting fucking knocked off your feet regardless, man, by someone bigger than you. I mean, it's a jarring feeling.
And vice versa, though. When Kyle said that the Vontaze Burfict thing happened because he was blocking Ray Malaluga on his first pull assignment as a guard going to the A-gap, that brought back a lot of memories for me when I played O-line, like pulling plays as a tackle or a guard were when they called a pull play as a lineman, that was the thing. You were so pumped because that was your chance to decleat a linebacker. That was your chance to blindside somebody or come through on an unexpected, A-gap, B-gap pull and just decleat somebody. Yeah. So on the flip side, inflicting that was equally as awesome as it was miserable on being on the receiving end of it.
I bet you were a terror on the sled, man. I bet you fucking
I hated the sled because I was so tall, bro. It was not fun for me, the sled. And that's why I loved having Kyle too, because Kyle's 6'6", and I loved how he shot down the bench press question. Because that is such a typical, oh, you work out. You how much do you bench? How much do you bench? When you're a big, tall person, benching is with the shoulders. He's got a torn labrum. I have a partially torn rotator cuff. Benching is the least fun thing to do in the gym for guys who are long. It's miserable. There's nothing fun about it. Nothing guys like Kyle, guys like me, I like pull workouts, back workouts, stuff where you're pulling rather than pushing, because pushing with long limbs, you're far away from your core. It's not fun. It hurts. It takes a big toll on the joints. So I loved his answer on that.
Well, everything about his position, where the power comes from, it's all from core and, like he said, glutes.
Ass.
Glutes. Yep. It's all ass.
Yep. It's true.
It's true.
Boomer and Phil Simms always talk about that. I want to see the guy's ass. They always say that. I want to see what's his trunk look like. I want to see his legs.
He's got a big old donk is the tick.
Yeah. The big thicket. That's how he's got the nickname.
I got some cake. I sure do. Feeds the whole family. All right, gentlemen, that's another episode there. But I mean, let's just give it up one more time for Kyle Long. That was awesome. He was a great guest.
That was really fun.
He was a great guy. Thank you, Mikey, for bringing him on. Thank you, Kyle, for coming on. That's another episode of The Sportsman. As always, Mikey V, Joey D, myself, The Big Ticket, and we will see you folks next week.